anymore. It's today.
Society, because
I'm listening.
What are the rents in Springfield right now?
The rent is outrageous. It has went since Biden took over. It has doubled. Minimum.
Oh no, not just Biden. Now inflation is outrageous. I think there are other issues other than Biden. Biden's a disaster. I'm not a big supporter of him. Okay, but you shut down the world economy for a year, or at least people money to support them. So everyone sat at home collecting money, or collecting a paycheck, working from home, whatever. Didn't go out to eat, didn't travel, didn't buy cars, didn't do this, didn't buy homes. And now suddenly everything opened up, and now you have 2 years of demand hitting the system. At the same time, factories are trying to reopen, and foundries for chip manufacturers are trying to restart. And so, yeah, prices have skyrocketed. That's part of the reason. I think prices have skyrocketed. But rents have been going up for about 10 years now. And it's because these big companies are coming in, big investment firms are coming in to neighborhoods, and they'll literally buy up houses and then rent them out. Or they'll buy apartment buildings and they'll rent out the apartment building. And that is not right, especially going into a residential area and buying up homes and then just renting them out.
That's what they're doing.
So, yeah, you have a lot of homeless people. They don't like to be homeless. Maybe some of them are drug addicts. But you know what? If I was living on the street, I'd use some drugs too. Shit, I already have drank myself into, passing out. And I have a pretty good life. I've done that before. But I can't imagine what I would be on if I was homeless. So and that's what I mean when I say that you have a diminution of the middle class. And people look at the homeless people and they pissing in the trash cans and they say, well, look at that. It's a sign our society's in the shitter. No, it's a sign that something's broken in our system. The fact that we have more homeless people than ever, the fact that it's more expensive to rent than it is to have a mortgage, it's crazy. And the fact that you can't raise a kid in this country off of what, the minimum salary is. Or
it's very hard to do. But
you can't do it.
Okay. Now, I think me and you disagree here a little bit. I believe that, I watch like TikTok videos and these lives, and you'll have these kids on there and they're like, it's going to cost me $1,600 a month to rent a place, but my parents are charging me $400, and it makes me so angry because they owe me because I never asked to be born. What do you think about that type of mentality?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. But that's parenting.
It is.
And I don't think that's a majority. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'll tell you this, that social media is like the curse of our society. I want to talk about something destroying our society. Social media is. I have a case where we're threatening to sue the school because my client was allegedly bullied. So I have her, and I'm not going to say who it is or anything, but I've had cases before where kids are alleging being bullied, and I know what bullying is in school, and some of the but looking at these social logs, it's crazy. The things that these kids are saying to one another. I would have never been like, I'm going to come over to your house and beat your ass, or someone saying, my dad will be here when you get here, and me saying, even if I was a girl, what's he going to do? Rape me in the front yard? I mean,
yeah, that's crazy.
Huh?
And I think there's some realism that people need to understand. We have taken the ability of children to be children out of their lives. And I think you're right. Social media has had a lot to do with that. But, why can't people just honestly say this? There are some scumbag, lazy assholes that are in our society that should have never had kids, that should, never had a job. They shouldn't have had nothing. They're just worthless scumbags. However, if you say that, then you're automatically the enemy. You're a hater. And I don't believe I'm a hater. I believe I'm a realist. It's kind of like fat shaming. You hear people all the time, don't fat shame, don't fat shame. Why? Why don't you want to fat shame? Why don't you want to make people in your society not want to be fat so they're healthier? Does that make any sense to you?
Well, I mean, I like eating my hamburger, so you can fat shame me all you want, but you're going to be fat shaming me while I'm stuffing my face. So
because you don't care. because you're not this an emotional butterfly.
I carry it's not enough not to eat.
Right. It just, I don't know. I think that it just sucks. So let me ask you this. Through your journey, Democrat, all the bullying you've went through, the things that your family has had to do, you go to college, you're busting expectations, you become a conservative talk radio host, you come out of that, you're doing your law firm, and now you're JFK Democrat. Let me ask you something. Obviously, you're not a Biden fan, and I don't think most Democrats are. But if it came down to Donald Trump running against Joe Biden 2024, which way are you leaning?
Depends on what Donald Trump said during the campaign. He's going to have a rally tonight in I think it's Arizona, or is it Alaska? One of the 8 states. And I guarantee you half is going to be 2020, woe is me, it's fraud. If he runs, I won't vote for that. I'd rather the economy go straight into the shitter than we lose our democracy. I do. We need someone who believes in this. Even this, I'll vote for DeSantis. I think DeSantis is a fine governor. I'll vote for him.
Okay, here's a better
over
question.
Biden.
How about DeSantis versus Manchin? Both of them are running for president. Who'd you vote for?
I would vote for Manchin because I don't think he's hot air stuffed into a 2-pound bag. I think Manchin is disliked by someone in the Democrat Party because he doesn't kiss their ass.
Well, isn't it the
West
responsibility of a politician to represent their area?
Absolutely. That's why I like Manchin.
Right.
He has his finger on the pulse of West Virginia, and I don't give a damn who's in power. If he thinks the people in his state would support that majority, not everyone's going to agree with him, but the majority vote for him, then he's going to vote for it or against it. And I respect that. DeSantis, I think, is a showboat to some extent, trying to be like Trump, but a politician who's Trump. And, if Trump would just run, if he would say, look, it was a hard-fought fight. I lost. I lost in 2020, but you know what? You got what you wanted, America. You got it. You didn't want me in office? No problem.
What a message.
Yeah, and be like, my campaign would be, do your vote again, or something to the effect of second try, America. Something like that.
So
Don't
now
make
we
the
have
same mistake twice.
You're an attorney. You know about this stuff. We have the Supreme Court. They're taking the case for legislatures, state legislatures, being the only ones that can make any voting laws. I want your opinion on that.
Yeah, I don't. Well, it's tough because the Constitution has a clause that you can read it to say only the legislature has the power to change voting laws. But the problem is the state governments are designed like the federal government is. Name a law that the Congress can pass without veto-proof majority, and the president has no power over it whatsoever. Veto or no veto, there is none.
Well, some people would say that this is pure federalism.
That what?
That some people would say that this is just pure federalism, power going back to the states.
Federalism is the concept that there are powers just given to the states.
Correct.
It doesn't say that there are powers just given to the legislature.
True.
What they're trying to argue is the legislature can pass whatever law they want regarding districting, drawing out district lines, and the governor of that state can't do anything about it, and the courts can't say anything about it.
Correct.
And I think the legislature's power, even the state legislature, is limited by the Constitution, federal and state. So if they're putting all the blacks in one area, and or cutting up all the blacks and putting 5% of them in every other district, so they can't have any voting power,
gerrymandering,
or whatever. Yeah, gerrymandering.
There exactly. Now I'm getting the Democrat in you to come out.
Well, yeah, racial gerrymandering, that's considered unconstitutional. Their argument is that, well, it said the legislature had the power over the state legislature had the power over it. That means that the state courts and the governor have none. And I don't think that is safe for democracy, because these people are closer to my house in Indianapolis than they are in Washington, D.C. I think they're still corrupt little.
But
crooks,
don't you
some of them.
think that geographically we have to have some subversion with this, because there are obviously things that are harder in certain geographical areas than others?
I have no problem with the state determining their congressional district. I have a problem with the argument that the legislature can do whatever they want, and the state courts, not even the federal court, the state court, the state Supreme Court here in Indiana has no power. They can't overturn it. They can't do anything. I have a problem with that. So I don't think that's what the founding fathers intended.
So a lot of what you're saying, and I want people to recognize this, is not necessarily Democrat or Republican. You actually thought this through about the people. What's good for the people? I don't think there is a myth in our country that the founders all got together and they said, okay, we're going to write the Constitution, and this is what it's going to say. These are all the rights. This is what it means. They didn't agree on anything. No. That's because most people haven't.
They couldn't even agree on slavery.
Right. And there were reasons for that.
They couldn't even agree on whether to separate from England.
Correct.
I mean, and so they said, look, we have these fights, and this is what's kind of amazing about America. We have all these different beliefs. I believe in smaller government. You believe in bigger government. We can't resolve it now. We'll resolve it later. Throughout our history, how we are functioning will be within the guidelines of the Constitution, but the interpretation of that Constitution will change with society. It just will. I think believing that it's some sort of mathematical equation that all you have to do is add up the words and it means whatever it says, you can't misinterpret it to mean something opposite of what it was intended to mean. And their intention is relevant, but whose intention? Madison's or Jefferson's? They were very much opposed.
So you don't believe in absolutism at all?
No, I don't. I believe that things change. I mean, I think Dred Scott v. Stanford, where they said that, African Americans weren't separate but equal is okay. But I think that's wrong. But
no, I agree with that. However, we have conundrums in society, like right now, the societal thing about abortion. I personally believe that, 50 years down the road, they're going to turn around and say, well, of course those little humans had rights. They were people, just like the 3/5 rule. We look back at it now and we're like, well, how in human society can we say that one human is worth less, their vote, than another human? It's a stain on the society of the day.
When does life begin? In your view, when does life begin?
Well, there is no question. It's at conception.
Oh, really? So a fertilized egg, that's a human being?
Yes.
Really? Without a heart, a brain? You immediately become a human being, a fertilized egg?
It's the process of human life. What do you say
about the situation that more than one egg gets fertilized oftentimes, but the other ones are just discarded? Is God committing abortion there? Is that somehow natural abortion, or is that...
That's natural selection. The strong will survive.
Okay. That's okay. Then.
But that's part of nature. It's not humans interfering.
If people are honest, I think, and this is a very touchy topic, and we all have different views.
Right.
Okay. But I think if you're honest, you don't know when life begins. I don't know when it begins. I have no idea. I think I have a position, but I hope it's right. I don't know. I think at the point where the kid's viable,
well,
you could take it out with a C-section.
Okay.
Your rights to have an abortion are over.
So when it's viable, does that mean that a 2-year-old out in the middle of winter without a coat and jacket, they're not viable?
The 2-year-old is alive. Viable means that you can take it out and you have to provide it. Yes. Look, I have to have certain things or I would die. It doesn't mean I'm not viable. Can't drop me out in the middle of a